Rome. It didn't start as an empire, it started as a dirt patch by the Tiber River. A tiny outpost in a world dominated by giants, the Etruscans to the north and the Greeks to the south. But this swamp would become the most formidable machinery of the ancient world. To understand Rome, we have to strip it down into three distinct phases: the kingdom, the republic, and the empire. Part 1. Everything begins with a foundation myth as brutal as the empire itself. Romulus and Remus, suckled by a she-wolf, finished in fratricide. Romulus wins. He gives the city his name and a DNA of ruthlessness. For the first 240 years, Rome was a monarchy. 7 kings ruled, but the Romans developed a genetic hatred for absolute rulers. When the last king, Tarquinius Superbus, went too far, the Romans did something that changed history. They invented the res publica, the public matter. The republic wasn't a democracy. It was a complex system of checks and balances. Imagine a clockwork mechanism where every gear is designed to jam the other, so no single man can become a god. At the top, 2 consuls. They ruled for only 1 year. They held the imperium, the absolute power to command. But they could stop each other with a single word: veto. I forbid it. Below them, the Senate, a club of old, wealthy aristocrats called patricians. They controlled the money and the tradition. Then there were the plebeians, the common people. They fought for their own representatives, the tribunes. These men were sacrosanct. Touch them, and you die. Part 3. Why did Rome win? Not just because they were brave, but because of logistics. The Roman army wasn't just a group of warriors. It was a construction site on legs. When a legion stopped for the night, they didn't just pitch tents, they built a fortress. Think of the Greek phalanx, a massive block of spears. Unstoppable from the front, but as clunky as a freight train. Rome developed the maniple system. Small, flexible units that moved like the scales of a snake. If the first line got tired, they didn't retreat. They rotated. Continuous pressure was their secret weapon. Then came the ultimate test: Carthage. The Punic Wars were the World War I of antiquity. Hannibal crossed the Alps with elephants and annihilated the Roman army at Cannae. Rome lost 80,000 men in a single afternoon. In any other civilization, that would be the end. But Rome had a psychological defect. They never surrendered. They simply rebuilt their fleets when they sank. They recruited new legions when the old ones died. By 146 BC, Carthage was a pile of burning rubble. Rome was now the hedge fund of the Mediterranean. They owned everything. Wealth destroys the republic from the inside. Imagine you're a Roman farmer. You fight overseas for years. When you return, your farm is bankrupt. Why? Because the rich senators are running massive plantations worked by millions of slaves captured in war. You can't compete with free labor. The result? A massive, angry, jobless class of people floods the city of Rome. The Gracchi brothers tried to fix it by redistributing land. The Senate's response? Murder. For the first time, Rome solved political problems with internal bloodshed. Then came the military reforms of Marius. He turned the army into a professional career. But there was a catch. The soldiers were no longer loyal to the state. They were loyal to the man who paid them, their generals. The stage was set for the ultimate player, Gaius Julius Caesar. Caesar wasn't just a general, he was a PR genius. He conquered Gaul and wrote books about how great he was while doing it. When the Senate told him to stop, he crossed the Rubicon. He gambled the entire republic on a civil war. He won, became dictator for life, and was promptly stabbed 23 times on the Senate floor. But killing the man didn't kill the idea. The republic was dead. The empire was born. The republic was a corpse. Out of the ash rose Octavian, Caesar's adopted son. He was a master of branding. He didn't call himself a king or a dictator. He called himself princeps, first citizen. He took the name Augustus. He realized that people will trade their freedom for security and bread. This was the start of the Pax Romana, 200 years of relative peace. But peace required a massive amount of maintenance. Augustus created the first permanent tax office, the first professional fire department, and the Praetorian Guard, his personal elite security force. Rome was no longer an expanding gang. It was a global corporate entity. While other civilizations built monuments to gods, Rome built infrastructure. They were the masters of concrete, a secret recipe involving volcanic ash that allowed them to build underwater and create massive domes like the Pantheon. They built 80,000 kilometers of paved roads. These weren't just for travel. They were the high-speed fiber optics of the ancient world. A message or a legion could travel from London to Egypt with terrifying speed. Then there was the water. Aqueducts. Rome was a city of 1 million people. Without fresh water, it would have been a plague pit. They engineered these bridges with a slope of just a few millimeters per kilometer. Gravity was their engine. This allowed for public baths and running water, creating a standard of living that wouldn't be seen again for another 1,500 years. The Roman economy was a Ponzi scheme based on conquest. To pay the soldiers, they needed gold. To get gold, they needed to conquer new lands. When they conquered a land, they got new slaves. These slaves worked the mines and the farms, which created the wealth to pay for more soldiers. Expansion was the fuel. The moment the borders stopped moving, the engine started to stall. Under Trajan, the empire reached its maximum size. From the deserts of Mesopotamia to the rainy hills of Scotland, it was too big to manage. His successor, Hadrian, realized this. He stopped the expansion and built walls. Absolute power is a biological experiment. When you have emperors like Caligula, who allegedly tried to make his horse a priest, or Nero, who executed his own mother, the system begins to fracture. The Praetorian Guard, originally designed to protect the emperor, realized they could sell the throne to the highest bidder. In the year 193, they literally auctioned off the entire empire to a wealthy senator. Then came the 3rd century crisis. In 50 years, Rome had 26 different emperors. Most were murdered. The economy collapsed. They tried to fix it by devaluing the currency. They mixed silver coins with copper. The result? Hyperinflation. The money became worthless. People stopped using coins and went back to bartering. The Roman world market was dying. A man named Diocletian saved the empire by cutting it in half. He realized one man couldn't defend every border at once. He created the Tetrarchy, rule by 4. Then came Constantine. He moved the capital from Rome to a small Greek city called Byzantium, renaming it Constantinople. This was the ultimate pivot. The West was left to rot, while the East, with its trade routes to silk and spices, became the new heart of power. Constantine also legalized Christianity, turning a persecuted sect into the official state religion. The cross replaced the eagle. By the 5th century, the barbarians were no longer just at the gate, they were inside the house. Tribes like the Visigoths and Vandals had been pushed into Roman territory by the Huns, a nightmare force from the east. Rome had no money left to pay its legions. They began hiring barbarian mercenaries to fight other barbarians. It was a house of cards. In 476 AD, a Germanic chieftain named Odoacer forced the last boy emperor, Romulus Augustulus, to abdicate. The West had fallen. But did Rome really die? The eastern half, the Byzantine Empire, survived for another 1,000 years. The Roman legal system became the foundation for Western law. Their language, Latin, evolved into Italian, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. Rome didn't just disappear. It uploaded itself into the operating system of Western civilization. Every time you look at a stadium, drive on a highway, or use a calendar, you are living in the shadow of the Roman machine.